Colorising a photo is easy. Just turn the saturation back up. That's the boring answer, and isn't always possible, but I thought I should actually try it, and I can prove that I'm colorising a photo that never had colour in the first place. Because the photo is lit exclusively with red light, and the raw .dng digital negative file can't be adjusted in any way to bring back any colour that was there in the first place, because red was pretty much the only colour captured in this image. I didn't look up a tutorial or anything. I thought I'd just try it and see how good I would do. First I turned the image black and white and then lower the highlights because I thought it was a bit overexposed in the highlights, so I thought I'd tone it down a bit, but just for my personal preference. Then I was doing on my phone, so I just saved copies of the image where I'd colorized it in each different hue that I would use. Whereas if I did it on a desktop, for example, I could just make a new layer and then create a mask and colorize just that layer. That would have been easier, but I also took images of everything separately in colour so I could get a reference for the right hues to use when I'm colorising it later. I believe I read somewhere that research is an important part of colorising old photos, but I'm not putting any effort into that. Just like I can't be able to find out where I got this information from, but it was a long time ago, probably several years ago. So initially I gave the hair the same colour as the skin tone, which didn't look right. So then I did the hair separately, and the process for that was a little different than for everything else. Because, generally, if you see my hair, it's a bit darker. But then in the image, there's some highlights, from it being a single point, flash, basically. So I made it a bit yellower than the skin tone hue, and then darkened it as well, which made it look better. Well, at least for me, for my hair colour. And I'm happy with the end result. I like that it looks like a colorised photo, because, it's not perfect since there's, a handful of hues. It's kind of like a loop and not like a straight line, is because I use feathering to sort of smoothen the change between each hue. Later, I remember that my phone, a Samsung phone, can automatically colorise photos and suggested colorising the black and white version. So I tried it, and it looks more realistic with how there's variation in the skin tone. Also, Samsung's colorization added colour in the background and in my grey t-shirt, which I didn't bother with, since I would assume that they'll be black and white anyway. But the colour does make it look less like it was colorized. But just to be sure, I recreated the image in full colour to see what the correct answer would be in terms of colorizing the image. So I couldn't get a perfect one-to-one match because I ended up taking the pictures almost a month apart. In terms of matching precise hues, it's clear I did better, obviously, since I had the reference. I realised that the problem with my colourless photo is that although it removed any colour that wasn't red, if you've ever looked for a red filter, then you'd know that red things look brighter. In the same way, I feel like the orange and pink sticky notes look brighter under the red light than they would be under full colour, because they are a closer colour to red than, say, blue, which appears to be the darkest one. A red filter removes all light that isn't red. So the brightest parts of the image are the parts of the image that were the most red. So in effect, all I've done is adjusted the values of a colour image to those of a red filtered image. So I'm going to try and account for this and make my best estimate of what the image would look like if it was lit just by white light. Come on, man. First, I combine the best aspects of both. So the hues that I had thanks to my reference, and then also the variance in the colour variance of hues, in the skin tone, and also I'll probably use the colour they added to the grey in the background. And then to counteract the red light, I extracted the hue data, filtered out the green and blue channels, so I'm left with only red, turned it black and white, subtracted that from the image, but that made it very dark, so then I just brightened it back up, and that lightened the blue sticky note, and also darkened my skin. And then finally I made some subtle adjustments to make it as good as I can to my eyes. And I'm doing the rest by eye. So for example, I brightened the white of my eyes to further increase the difference between the skin and the eyes, because a red filter makes the eyes and skin much closer in brightness. Since the white of the eyes is obviously bright, but the skin is only really bright in the red channel, and hence why they both seem similar in brightness when in reality, under white light, you can see a bigger difference. I'd say that the result from all that looks noticeably better, but it's not perfect. You know, I'm working based on how it looks on the monitor, which I know differs even from how it looks on my phone. But in the end, it still looks better than the original, which was, you know, just drenched in red, basically. Also, in the reference images, the sticky notes were a little overexposed. And so when I brought it down a bit, I could see that having them overexposed, like, shifted the hues of it. So it's, you know, well, what can we trust? So in the end, we're like, well, what does any of this matter? No matter how I colorize this photo, the fact is I made this pose under red light and not white light. So it's like I'm trying to rewrite history. Granted, you know, this is a subtle difference anyway. But that, you know, that's not to say that colorization is pointless. You know, there is some art to it, you know, with respect to the creative decisions that have to be made, where there may be some uncertainty on what color someone's outfit may have been, for example. I'm not trying to say it's pointless, but in my case, it might have been, you know. I'm not trying to bring an old image back to life using colour to help revive some old memories, because I'm not that old at that time of recording. Anyway, it's a fun exercise, and I don't think my time was wasted doing this, because I learned a lot about how light works in real life and also digitally while I was making this video. And I hope you learned something too as well. Whoa, I've never seen this before, actually. It's like vibrating, if you can hear that.